Coach, let's start the talk with you, Coach. How are you? How's the family? How's work? How is everything with you?
Great. The kids are growing. My son is 27 now, so it makes me feel old. So the man is just, he, he finally decided to go back to school and do his master's. So I'm trying to celebrate that one now. But it makes me feel like as if I'm scared of becoming a grandfather, but let's hope it doesn't happen soon. but,
Well, I'm not going to
um,
say
oh,
amen to that. If it happens soon, it happens soon. For as long as somebody is old enough to do masters, I think they are at the responsible stage to raise a child as well. But that said, I asked this question last time we were on the podcast. What's the ingredients of a successful and long-standing marriage?
hmm. Well, I understand this question because I've been married now for 30 years, I think. Uh, it's just a long time. I think one is it's your own mindset. It's how you see life itself. I think what is very important is the fact that also one has to be lucky. Lucky in the sense that you meet the right person that goes with your style. Me, I still consider my wife as if I say I won Kalu Kalu, you know, meeting running into her because she's a wife that's like my mother. She can cook. She can be a good mother to the kids. She's a good wife. She knows how to cut me down when I'm wrong. She knows how to support me when I'm not doing well. And in fact, I'm just blessed. But from the other side also, one thing I feel makes marriage work out very well is that you must be committed and be ready to work at it. It's work. It's not as if it's just going to work out. You have to be ready to know that, okay, I have to always make an effort to make it work out. And if at the end of the day you have decided that, look, I want to do my life with this person, that counts a lot. Because women are very smart, though. People don't know. Women are very, very smart. They notice small things. If a woman knows that all your life you built it around making her and her kids happy, even when you fault or you misbehave or you shout, they will still understand that, okay, we are all in the same team. So I think that plays a huge role.
Fantastic. There is a feeling that I get when I look at Nigerian football. And I think you're the one person that I think can address it and address it very well. And that feeling is the fact that every generation of Nigerian footballer, and let me just say the generations are 10 years apart, 1980 to 1990, 1990 to 2000s, and then like that. There is this disconnect. This generation hates this generation, the other one hates the other generation. And because of that, that hate is also spilling over to the fans, the followers. So, for instance, if I am a fan of player A or this generation of players and they don't speak well of the other generation, I automatically inherit that hatred. And I don't care whether this person was a hero at his time and he saved the country. So it's no longer service to the nation. It is, there's a person like the kind of dichotomy between Messi fans and Ronaldo fans.
Mm.
And we heal that disconnect among players.
It's a question of education. And it's a question of the fact that when I mean education, I don't mean school education. No? People will say they speak Oyibo. No, it's a question of education and being realistic about it. You see, as a soccer player, as a midfielder, I have an advantage to tell you who is a good midfielder or not better than anybody else. Because I know how he's able to carry out those things that I find maybe difficult and he's doing it easy. I say, oh, this boy is good. I know what he needs to do with that. The same thing applies for a striker. Yekini would tell you, oh, that striker is exceptional because he knows, how he's executing this. Now, one of the biggest problems we have is that we easily just call somebody a legend is big and that. And that respect, it boils down also to respect. The coming generations, the one who are see themselves as stars now, they really have little respect for those who came before them. and especially those who came before them that are bigger than them. But I don't agree it is every generation like that. Because I will tell you something very, very plump and clear. Nobody from my generation ever calls the 1980 generation by name. Like you see, Mr. Segun Odegbami, we don't call him Segun, we don't call him Odegbami, we call him Big Shek. You see, Captain Christian Chukwu of the 1980s, we don't call him Chukwu, we call him the chairman, because he was the chairman of the defense back then. That's the way Adoke Mesamaka, we don't call him Mr. Adoke Mesamaka, we call him what? We gave him the name of the legal system. That's what we used to call him then. And so it's a sign of respect. Now, that doesn't mean that generation did not fault us. Mr. Odegbami has written some articles, even against my person, that I felt was so bad and so badly informed and wrong and hurtful. Now, I didn't go out there and start shouting, Segun Odegbami, Segun. No. One time I called him and I told him, I said, Big Shek, now wow, why you go talk to Senator, And to my greatest surprise, he told me, oh, Sonny, I did sorry. I know they are aware. Till today, I still call Big Shek and we discuss private things together. He will still attack me, Sonny, yes, but me and him will still have the distance. You see, that respect, it stopped after our generation. Because I'm going to lie to you about something. If you look at the achievements that my generation had, it's one of the greatest achievements by any African generation ever. When I went to Kenya, I was amazed at how the Kenyans were all telling me about the games we played from my generation. But even though our generation won things that, because you are not a legend if you come and you win Nations Cup or you win this. No. If you want to become a legend of Nigerian football, you have to do something nobody else has ever done before you. That's what makes you a legend. Otherwise, you are just a hero or a good player. Or the Odegbamis, the Christian Chukwus, the Big Sheks, all those ones, we call them legends because when they came, they were the first African Nigerian national team to dominate African football. They won the African Nations Cup and in style too. Our generation came, we repeated it, we won it, we became legends because we were the first to win it outside our shores. We were the first to qualify for the World Cup. We were the first to win the Olympics. And that's what makes us legends till today. Now, when I see, the young and upcoming players who are yet to even win anything for Nigeria, and I repeat, yet to even win anything for your fatherland, or yet to be considered as one of the best in the world, lacking respect to, trying to insult and make that filters down to the supporters. That filters down to the people. Because people will always emulate what their star players are doing. And that is why I feel that is wrong for us.
I want to drag you into a conversation that probably you have no responsibility for, but I just need your thoughts on it. We went to the Nations Cup, we went all the way to the finals, and the coach. So we've created a history. 1980, we won the Nations Cup, and then the coach was let go. 1994, your coach, Clement Vestav, won the Nations Cup, took us to the World Cup. We're supposed to come back and extend it because he's done well. We let it go. Won the Olympic, we let Bonfrijo go. The system is always letting go successful coaches. Stephen Keshi won the Nations Cup and was let go thereafter. And then we came in and we got the coach who was your former teammate, who you gave him his first coaching job as your assistant, Finidi George. We've always known him. I've known him all my life, since 1994. I've always known him as a gentleman, even though I didn't support him getting that job, as I felt like the national team players do not like Nigerian coaches, and the system does not also support Nigerian coaches coaching the national team for whatever reason, I don't know. What much can you tell us about Finidi George? Because there's just a whole lot that has happened. The Finidi George coaching the two games, resigning, the Osimhen drama, and the national team. What makes these beautiful Super Eagles that we all grew up loving becomes so much of a poisoned chalice that destroys people?
Well, as regards Finidi, it's difficult to make a comment because I've not really heard from him. In fact, the last time I spoke to Finidi, I believe I called him after we went to honor something in Nigeria, I think. So I've not really heard from his side. I heard a lot of noises going on left and right, but one thing that I'm very, very certain about is that I think it is very, very unfair to even point fingers at Finidi. And then as an excuse to start, of course, he had his own limitations. He made his own errors also. Otherwise, we wouldn't have lost those games the way we did. That's for sure. And I think as a coach, you have to take responsibility also because you're in charge. But what we are beginning to forget is that the so-called coach that who just left Pesero, the World Cup debacle, the struggle we're having now, started with him. He already coached 2 games. He already drew 2 games. So we already lost 4 points with him as coach. It's already like it was not a Nigerian coach. It was a foreign coach that did that. Now, the aspect of not accepting a local coach or not wanting to accept a local coach, it also boils down to what we have kind of like. I am worried as I'm talking to you. I am worried, Matt, because we are about to get into a situation now that might be so difficult, maybe impossible to come out of. So we have to be very, very careful as a nation how we handle this situation now. We cannot afford not to go to 2 World Cups in a row. It is going to be disastrous. So we have to find a solution. Now, when you look at it, the national team itself, it's going to be difficult. Normally, I don't like talking about myself directly, Matt, except when I wrote my book. But for this interview with you, I will make an exception. Because if you don't tell your story, somebody else will tell lies about it. So it's like, look, I've heard all kinds of things, even concerning my own person. I coached the Super Eagles for 14 games. I repeat, 14 games, 1-4. We lost only 2 games. One was a friendly against Congo in Brussels, in Belgium, a friendly match. Now, after being unpaid for 4 months, after my assistants being unpaid for 6 months, these are people with family and kids. And after me falling seriously sick and not getting any support, spending thousands of dollars to cure myself, and still being laughed at by some of your media friends for falling sick. When I was dying, and my wife lost weight, my family lost weight, struggling, and I'm still coaching the Super Eagles. After doing that, I resigned because I did not get support even to finance my own cure. I resigned and I left the job. Nigeria was still qualified, had gotten into the pool to play for the World Cup 2018. Nigeria needed all just to beat Egypt and qualify for the 2017 Nations Cup. When I became coach of the Super Eagles, I became coach because the Super Eagles had failed to qualify for 2015 Nations Cup under one of the best coaches we ever had, Stephen Keshi. So I came in there was already a rot, and I noticed the rot there. When I was signed on to coach the Super Eagles, because this is kind of the things that the local coaches suffer when they coach the Super Eagles. When I was signed to coach the Super Eagles by the NFF, one of the things they told me was that they had not qualified because they were having problems with certain players in the group. These players also gave so much problem to Keshi, and that's why Nigeria did not qualify. They had asked me to not invite these players anymore into the Super Eagles. Now, what I told them was, I myself, as a captain, I knew NFF is not easy to. I don't have to tell you about that. You all know that. So I already knew that. So I said, in all fairness to the players, what I will do is this. I begged the NFF. I said, look, let me talk to them. Let me try to get them on board. Let me share my philosophy with them. And let's see how it goes. Are you following up to now, please? If I'm now, when this happened, what I did was that I called the captain of the team, which was in Yama. I took my own car and drove almost 200 and something kilometers to his place. If you put it to and fro, almost 400 kilometers with my assistant coach. took him out to lunch, paid for it, watched him train in the morning, spoke to his coach, spent the whole day with my captain, and spoke to him and gave him the philosophy of how it was going to be. Now, the three players the NFF had most problems about, they told me it was Inyama, John Obi Mikel, and Emmanuel Emenike. To start with, before I go further, the biggest regret I had as a Super Eagles was when Emenike called me and said, Coach, I am retiring as a national team player. Working with Emmanuel Emenike was one of the best things I had as a Super Eagles coach. He was a great guy. He was a nice guy. And when I saw all what some media people had written about this boy, I was shocked because I could speak with Emenike. He was willing, but he felt he couldn't take it anymore. He said, Coach, no, I have decided to stop. Now, this is things I never put public because I have to respect the man's privacy. And that is why I'm so happy each time I see Emenike doing well. You know, because the guy was like that. So he was totally opposite of what some people at the NFF had told me about him. But on the other hand, I sent message to John Obi Mikel. He never answered my calls. He never called me back. He never did anything. He totally ignored and played the super diva. I took my car, got into a train with my assistant, drove to London to see John Obi Mikel and to see Moses at the time. They both playing at Chelsea. Gave them appointments at the hotel. Two teammates of the same club, Moses came to the meeting. We had the drink, we spoke. And the boy told me some private things I won't share, why he was no longer too much interested in the Super Eagles to play. And I tried to explain to him to make him to come in. The other one refused to come. What could I do? So the boy already started creating problems. And I also had problems with Inyama also. Just before we played the game against Tanzania, we were playing on Friday. Everybody came into camp. On Wednesday, the man was still not there. And then only to phone us on Wednesday evening that he was not going to come because he wanted to bury his mother who died 3 months ago. So we had to rush and go to that game. We're lucky we got a draw. And I had already invited Kale Kelman. The story is history now. Kelman was unbelievably good. So we were able to survive that and all that. So you see all these problems coming. Now, if you are a local coach and you don't have I still repeat that for you to be able to coach and to succeed, you must have personality. Carlo Ancelotti told me that. My coach, Martin Olsen, told me that. Bonfrejo told me that. Be it Capello, he told us that also. You know, these are coaches, top coaches I work with. Even Alex Ferguson said it also. If you don't have personality as a coach, forget it. We all know what happened to David Beckham when he tried to, So when a coach, if a player is trying to not serve the country and the coach doesn't say anything, don't just, and they keep talking, it's not good. So this is the point I'm looking. So when you look at it like that, for the local coaches, it is difficult because to be able to stand up. Now, I was able to tell the players, okay, you want to do this, go home. I don't need you anymore. You want to be stubborn, you want to make trouble, okay, no problem. I will put you out. Because from my own record, I'm a captain with personality. I remember with personality, I accept it. People call it, they say you're stubborn. No, I believe I'm principled. I will never accept from you what I wouldn't do to you. So that is how I see it itself. So in that instance, you put yourself in a local coach who doesn't have that ability and doesn't have the support of the federation to do that. You cannot succeed. So that is what is killing the local coaches from performing. And when the coach is quiet, like I was in my case, then these ones will go to talk. These kids will talk and say what they want. And then, okay, he's wrong, he did it, he doesn't. No, it is not like that. And that is why I felt really unfortunate for what has happened now. I'm going to tell you something, my brother. It might shock you, but if we're going to call a spade, I have seen several players of this current Super Eagles that are not good enough to wear our jersey, but they are playing. And from information reaching me, some even come late to camp and they play. Now they say, okay, when Sunday the captain, then be Mafia, I can say, no. During my time, if you come late to camp, why you go play? When me I go at the top club, one of the toughest, highest club in the world. Taribo West, they one of the highest clubs in the world. Finidi, they one of the highest clubs in the world. All of us come camp on Monday. Who are you to come on Wednesday and you won't play? You know, that is the thing that was in that, you know, so those things are missing now from the Super Eagles. They are missing from the national team. And that is handicapping us a lot. That's why I'm worried, my brother.
So podcast is the new thing. I didn't know that when I started doing podcast was going to become this big. Even me now, I'm looking like I'm not as regular as it is. But then there are podcasts that are making people and those that are breaking people. Even people that otherwise don't talk in their playing days are not very loud on podcasts. One of your players, Mikel Obi, was on his podcast, the Obi1 podcast, and he said his word. Son Oliseh was a great guy in his playing days, but as a manager, he didn't have a clue of what he was doing. He came in, messed up a Yama, caused problem for the team and all that. And he is the worst coach he's ever worked with. I mean, I know that the man is entitled to his opinion, but my people say that if people say things about you, you always keep quiet. Today, quietness become acceptance. So I need to know, from where is that coming from? What did you really do to him? Because it seems to be a lot of bitterness, a lot of pains, a lot of hatred. Where is that coming from? What did you do to Mikel?
To be honest with you, I think the kid needs some help. I think the boy needs some help, really, to be honest with you, because I'm not going to go and chastise now, but I think he needs some help. Look, I will show you something. Normally, I've not really showed much. Yeah, let me see. Can you read this, please?
So I'm going to translate in English. Best manager or best coach, first period, Jupiler League, which is the Dutch league, 2017-2018. Do they give this black managers now?
Well, that is not voted by the press. That is voted by the players and the coaches of the league in the Dutch league. I was voted the best coach in Holland at that time in Holland. Now, I'm the only and the first and the only colored man from sub-Saharan Africa to ever win this title. And at the same time, with a club of players like Fortuna Sittard, who had very average players, were able to qualify from the second division, from last position to the first division, where they still are now, where we gain promotion. And then we won a title that is called the period title. Now, I don't need to justify myself being a good coach or anything to the kid. I call him the kid of Obi Mikel because my son is 27 years old. And when he made this statement, I heard about it. But what do you expect me to do? To start going on television and arguing with someone that, it's kind of, it's degrading. A coach, you don't go on television, on newspaper and start arguing with your player. I'm a good coach, I'm a good guy. But I would like to help the man. I would like to help the boy because I think he needs some help. Now, you cannot become a legend with your mouth. You cannot achieve what you are not able to achieve with your foot on the pitch of play as a footballer. You cannot achieve it outside the pitch with talking and with podcast. Now, there is something that, because I have a friend, he's a fanatical Chelsea fan. He's English. We both are linked with FIFA work. Look, the underwear he wears is Chelsea blue color because he's so fanatical about Chelsea and a very nice guy. He sent me once a video and he told me, he said, look, what is wrong with your boy? Because he calls Obi Mikel my boy. Now, when I watched this video, what I saw shocked me. And that's why I felt Obi Mikel needs help. Never in the history of Africa has one player, never in the history of Nigeria, no, not Africa, Nigeria, has one player ever gone on a foreign podcast and totally humiliate his family by calling them beggars problems and everything. That they make children, when I saw it, I was shocked. And that is why I'm saying that this disrespect for family and people that are older than you, it has to stop. Now, when I saw that, I was shocked. I said, how can you do this? This is your family. In Africa, it is our pride when you earn something or you make life to help your family. In fact, it is your duty. Because, look, there is something about Obi Mikel that I know that I've never shared, and I beg my friend Dosu Joseph, don't be angry with me. Dosu Joseph is one of the best friends, he's like a brother for me. Before Obi Mikel made it in football, Dosu Joseph housed Obi Mikel in his house and fed him. I bet you all didn't know this. He helped Obi Mikel become what it is today. My friend Dosu Joseph is not a beggar, he's doing well. Although he's handicapped because of the car accident he had. And that's an Olympic gold medalist and an MON of that, In spite of all the help he gave Obi Mikel, please, let's ask ourselves, has Obi Mikel ever once gone to say hello to Dosu? And with all the millions you've made, help the poor guy? No. You see, the boy needs help because the thing there is that if you think you can badmouth somebody, said this, look, he said, I heard that he said something about me treating Echejile wrong, or that kind of thing. This is also the misinformation they give to Nigerians. Echejile's uncle, do you know who that is?
My former boss.
Echejile's uncle is Larry Izamoje. I've been friends with Larry since almost when he started, we were one of those who helped Larry become what he became. Because I featured every time on his shows to give him publicity, to help him as a friend. He's from my village area. So why would I come to Super Eagles and do it with Echejile? Echejile called me when he was having problems with his coach at Monaco and asked my advice. And I gave him my project advice. I say, look, my man, if this coach don't help you, if you go meet him for house privately, settle with him. Because you'll be black man. You know fit afford to give. You can ask Echejile about this if he will deny it. You see, to start to lie about people, the problem I had with Obi Mikel was simply this. I didn't find him, at the time I coached him as a player, I didn't find him good enough to play that position. I felt we had even a home-based player that was better. And when we played a World Cup qualifier, I'm not saying a friendly game, when we played a World Cup qualifier against, that was Swaziland. I'm trying to remember their new name now. When we played against them, because Obi Mikel had played badly in the first leg, 3 days later, when we came back to Port Harcourt to play, I played a home-based player, Paul Onobi, at this place. Paul Onobi was voted by the opposing coach as the best player on the pitch, and we killed them 2-0. Now, the point is that I have no grudge against Obi Mikel. In fact, I am the one telling you now that he needs help. If he wants, he can call me. I will give him advice. Because when you are starting out like him, I get it, Matt. Huh? When people stop football, most players are lost. You don't know what to do next. Okay, you've played football, you spent all your life as a footballer. Sometimes we've been so arrogant, they don't even greet people, they don't talk to people. Now you've finished, you find, okay, I need people after all. You have to try to get back into the system. I know that is what he's going through now. Okay. But then again, there are ways to do it. One of the first things you have to do when you stop playing football is educate yourself, work on yourself. People have done it. We saw the Ivory Coast player who went to do it. He went to university and got a degree. Now, if you want to do podcasting, it's good. But you can't do podcasting by attacking people and insulting people and demolishing people. I've also heard him make comments about Kanu not being the greatest player ever, about him being the most decorated. All this. That is not what sells podcast. What sells podcast is what you have up here. It's the brain. So educate yourself, fill it with things, and then you can share and make it. And it's when you're likable, people come to your podcast, not when you insult people. When I look at, I'm not going to go into details why he didn't play, at Super Eagles or whatever, but that is what it is. I have forgotten it, but I think the man needs help, and we should all help him because he's one of the players that have served Nigeria. He's one of our younger brothers. He's a kid. So I think what he can do is once in a while, my advice to him is that If he phones me, I will never share it. Pick up the phone, call me, call JJ, call maybe Uche Okechukwu, ask them opinions about things like that because it will help you. That is my own opinion.
Now, there is something that have always bothered me. I sat down with quite a few players. So we grew up on football listening to the stories of the greats, the Tarela Okorowan, of Jemba, and it inspires us. They told us about Pele,
Yeah.
watch Pele play. They told us, and then later as we grow, watch Kisex. There's this thing about this generation of players, and a few of them will say, Oliseh is a good coach, but I just don't like the fact that he's always talking about himself. Now, if it was just Oliseh, it would have been okay. Duke Udi, when Duke Udi coached in the Nigerian League, Sunshine Stars, one of the problems people had with him was him always talking about how good he was in his time, how much of a great player he is, and it seemed to trouble the current players. And in my own conclusion for that is that when mediocrity and risen so high, excellence becomes an endangered species. So, if you ever get a chance to coach again, would Oliseh stop telling his players, in my days, I did this, I did that, I did that? Because it doesn't seem to motivate today's player. Or what do you have to say about players getting angry when a coach like you, who's a legend, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as African football is concerned, a football legend like Samuel Eto'o, like George Weah, like Didi Drogba, Yaya Toure, and the rest of them, Okocha, and the rest of you guys, you're kidding. Would you ever, when you step back into coaching from this great work you're doing with FIFA and Arsene Wenger, would you tune it down and say, maybe this is why I got it wrong, I'm going to do
No. I will have to correct you quickly. In the first place, speak to my players. I'm not talking of the ones who run their mouth. Speak to my players. As a coach, I hardly talk about myself. I hardly talk about do it like me like this. I hardly talk about myself. It's useless. The only time I might talk about myself to a player is when I'm speaking one-on-one and I'm trying to show him maybe some secret. And I will tell you, listen, you want to pass the ball? I want to give the ball here. This is what I'll do. And I will tell you why I want to do it like that. For example, I will put the ball in your running path. Why? So that you can now correct your strides, either go faster or slower to meet it. Those are the kind of things. Talk about myself. I don't need to talk about myself. I don't need to. That is why I was telling you that I will make an exception, and talk about myself in the sense that why should I talk about myself? What is there to say about myself? And even when I coached at Fortuna Sittard, what I did was that I worked with the players. My style of coaching is, that is why, you can say whatever you like about Pinnick. He can be whatever it is, whatever it is. He has his own faults. We all know it. But there is one thing Pinnick did that I really respected enough. When I was coaching Super Eagles, Pinnick gave me the possibility to coach home-based players. He made it available for them to come in during the week, and I will work on them during the week, and they go back to their clubs to play at the weekend. And that is why every time you hear me, I always speak positively of the home-based players because I know that there is still quality there. When the players that came in and I did screening and I tested them all, I saw so many talents. We picked out the best of them and we worked on those players. Now, ask those players if I ever spoke about myself. They will tell you no, unless they want to lie. Ask Ahmed Musa if I spoke about myself. They will tell you, I'm sure they would tell you no. Why would I talk about myself? These are part of the things that people try to sell to spoil you as a person. Because one, they can't call you that you are dishonest or you are corrupt because it is not the truth. Otherwise, since I left Nigeria, they don't say, they sell player, they do this, they do that. But they can't. They can't say you're not a good player because at one time in the world, I was considered as one of the best in my position. They saw what we did at the World Cup. They can't say that. So what do? When they have no points against you, they will do the Donald Trump system. They will attack your character. They will try to say, he's stubborn, he's arrogant, he's stubborn. I'm sorry. If I play Juventus, Ajax, Dortmund, and I tell you, say, look, the way you pass this ball, you know good. Pass on like this, now you go take work. You will never even play half of them. To help you, listen now. Listen, because me when they tell you, I know what I am telling you. It's not, that is how I say it. I will tell you something about Finidi George. the people are criticizing Finidi George left and right now. Now, in the history of Nigerian football, there are 5 wingers. They are the greatest ever to play as wingers. Nobody has even come 70% near those wingers. The first of them is the lawyer, Adoke Mesimeka.
My boss.
The second, is a great person, very intelligent. You know, that's one. The second one is Big Shed. You know, the third one is Tijani Babangida. The fourth one is Emmanuel Amunike. The fifth one is Finidi George. Now, Finidi George is the first and only Nigerian player who have won the Champions League playing 90 minutes from beginning to the end. Finidi is the only player that's the greatest left back in the world, Maldini, suffered against. You know, Tijani Babangida is the only player that when he comes at any defense, when we played in Europe, even the coaches were shouting, Baba is coming, Baba is coming. That is how good he was. Emmanuel Amunike, does he need introduction? Does Emmanuel Amunike need introduction? Does the Big Sheikh need introduction? You know, does our lawyer at Adoke Mesimeka need introduction? You know, so you see, those people are universal stars, and that is why it pains me that sometimes when I see ex-legends come against one another, you know, look, I have a colleague that I played with. He's not my favorite person. He's not my favorite friend. I'm talking about Victor Ipeba. But I will tell you something. Victor Ipeba, when Victor Ipeba is at his best, good luck to you if you're going to play against him. And Victor Ipeba is at his best. When he was at his best, when we were coming up, you know, Victor is difficult to live with. I agree. He's not an easy guy, you know, that kind of thing. You know, but who is? We all have our own shortcomings. But the thing was that this player is even was voted African Player of the Year. So that tells you how good Victor Ipeba was. Now, if you don't respect Victor Ipeba, the only people who have the right not to respect Victor Ipeba are his colleagues who played with him, who have the same level with him. Not anybody who has not reached that level. Now, even as good as Victor Ipeba was, he did not have a commanding position at the Super Eagles at the time. That tells you, if he is not playing as a regular, now can you imagine how good the person was playing at his place? What? You see, those are the kind of things you look at, you know. I've intentionally kept quiet, refused to talk. It's not because, look, you mentioned Dukudi. You mentioned Dukudi about the issue of what he came out, he spoke about what I did for him and players from them. Dukudi is just one of so many players that I went out of my way and tried to help. But he's the only one who came out to talk about it. Now the question, you know what pains my family the most? Because sometimes my family members were in the room when I was running left and right to try to help my colleagues to get it. They said to them, but now wow, of all these people, when you see you help, when you struggle for, even then when you fight for their ticket money, when make them make you go walk up. Why don't they come out and defend you and talk now? When did they lie all this lie? I tell them, say that is the problem. And that is the major problem we have as legends of Super Eagles, is that because there is this mental, maybe I'm wrong, because there are some who feel that, okay, if you're not good for me, it must not be good for you as a colleague. You know, they cannot afford to support you. Like now, this criticism Finidi is getting, or at one time they tried to finish Amunike in the newspaper also when they didn't give him the job or something. All that was going on. Now, what stops the other ex-colleagues to have come out and defended them? At least say the truth, even if you're not going to say the truth because you know the truth. You know, it is unfortunate because we are the greatest the country has ever produced. My brother, I'm telling you, Martin, if you stand up today and you go against one of the French players who won the 1998 World Cup in France, I'm talking of Zidane, Thuram, Didier Deschamps, go and make one statement against one of them in the French newspaper. The next morning, The next morning, all the ex-players, most of them will come out and defend him, bring out the truth, and even make you regret ever making that statement.
No, I saw it happen recently. Somebody made a comment about Didier Deschamps. And I expect that someone like Zidane will keep quiet because he naturally does not talk. He was your former teammate at Juventus, so you know him better.
Yeah.
Your book, I remember a line in your book that I always get me laughing. This book when said Del Piero is better than Zidane, and then you went to him and said, guy, do you hear what they're saying? And he said, why are you worrying yourself? Forget about what they have to say. Football is football, he will always tell. But I was surprised that a Zidane that everybody hoped that would take over from Didier Deschamps was out there. Didier Deschamps. Laurent Blanc was on ESPN, Frank Leboeuf, everybody, Thierry Henry. And the way they were defending him like they were defending their father. I was like, guys, teammates. What's this so honoring and all that? And then I don't see that in our team. Again, your boy or the boy you wanted to invite that you didn't get a chance to work with, Victor Osimhen, shredded everybody, not only Finidi. But I'm taking it back to your time, that time of your Super Eagles. Would it be possible for a player to shred a coach, whether it's West Ham is too big, nobody can touch it. Whether it's Bob Frijo, Tis Libret, Bora Mitsnovic, the one that I love the most, Philippe Trozier, but Nigerians, they love him, Betty Vogt. Would it be possible for a player to do what Victor Osimhen did and still come back to camp and everybody's hugging him and feeling fine with him in your time?
Well, Matt, I refuse to comment on this issue with this boy. I think for my own, I totally, I like you, so otherwise we won't be having this interview. But I refuse to comment on it. But one thing I can say is this: is that to the best of my knowledge, I think that when you serve Nigeria as a legend and you've done things, you serve Nigeria. Because let's face it, when we were doing all what we were doing for Nigeria, we're not paid much. Sure. We're not paid much. We're like, so I really feel that these players, at least the least you can do to compensate them is to respect them. And at least give them the honor they deserve, because we earned it. So that is all I can say on it.
I will. Okay. You want to say something?
I wanted to talk, but there's something that I do feel that is very, very important also, is that when it comes to the Super Eagles of Nigeria, it doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to the country itself. And we can all see that for that reason, that is why, like I told you when we started this discussion, I am worried. Because we are all, the fortunes of the Super Eagles, our professions are all linked to it. Sure. Our people are linked to it. And as a nation, it's time we have to realize that there is also what they call sports business. And that feeds families. That feeds generation.
My family.
And if we don't qualify for the next World Cup, everybody that's linked to football in Nigeria, whether you know it or not, you will suffer it. Either you will suffer it directly or you will suffer it indirectly. I'm not going to go into detail due to my affiliation with FIFA, but I know that anybody going to the next World Cup, the fact that it's going to be one of the biggest World Cup ever made, the nation will benefit a lot.
The minister on Shego Degbame's radio this morning said it would even be better for us not to qualify for the World Cup. I wouldn't want you to comment on it because you didn't hear it, so you don't comment on the essay. But the time that I've known you, you don't. But I want to jump away from all of this trouble. There is a comparison that the Afcon that ended in Cote d'Ivoire is better than the current Euro that is going on. The biggest superstar of this Euro is Ongo, a player called Ongo. Nobody knows the player from no country. But Ongo has scored 6 goals in this tournament. And there's really the big stars that we all were counting on: Harry Kane, Mbappe, Lewandowski. They've not really lit up the competition. Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri. They've not done what we've seen them do for their club. And some people have hinged it on the fact that they are burnt out. As much as I want to agree, there's a part of me that is refusing to agree, because now you have so much science to help players recover, your biomechanics, your psychologies, and all that, and you still can't play your best football. England is struggling to find a formula, a system of play. How do you compare this Euros that is still going, or in knockout stage today now, and the Afcon that we saw earlier in the year?
Well, personally, I'm going to be biased in that answer because the AFCON for me, the AFCON for me had more interest because my blood was playing. I was more focused on, and even though AFCON in Nigeria play well, they didn't play well. The fact that we got to the next game, I was already okay. I was happy with it. So for that one. But if you're talking about the performance of the players, to say you're being burnt out at the end is very possible because these guys are playing so many games, especially those who play the Champions League game. They're playing so many games in a year and all that. But that notwithstanding, this Euro is also confirming what what we have tried to share in the recent years now, that coaching has become very more important than before. It's becoming more important than before because now, and why is that so? Now you don't have highly qualitative individual players anymore.
Oh.
Now you have players, it's enough for you to be able to pass, stand right, move right, okay, you can play. Formerly, that is Ronaldo de Lima. He made a statement, I was watching him on television last week, and he made a statement, he said, I am now bored watching football. I can't watch football anymore because it is just pass here, pass there, pass there. He says he watches more tennis for 5 hours than he can watch a 90 minutes game. He's a player that likes a lot of individual actions, dribbling, take on. So you can imagine that when he sees them passing, for him it's going to be boring. Now, but also, I think that the African Nations Cup was more fun. There was more life. There was more color into it. So, and that is what, by the European standards, is not in their culture to have that. So I think that is what plays a role also. But coming to the Super Eagles, there's something I would like to add to it. There are two players that we have now, in my opinion. These are the best players we have at the moment. When you look at this season, I'm looking at Lukman, and I'm looking at one that might surprise you. And I find him extraordinarily good. His name is Victor Boniface.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I watch this guy every week because he's playing just 45 minutes drive from my house at Leverkusen. So I've had the opportunity to watch him play so many times.
No, for Boniface, I have sentimental attachment because I covered him at grassroots for Real Sapphire. I still have his video clips and all that. So seeing him blossom like this, I always feel pain when he's injured. Like, oh God, no, let this guy. And then he's an entertainer. He's a brand all by himself.
Oh my God, my brother, sorry to cut you short, but that point you made, I didn't want to let it to fall by. The fact that what he does on the pitch, he's a player who can do it all. He's a player that can play with his back to the goal. He's a player one-on-one, you're in trouble. He's a player that has pace. He is strong. He's really strong. And he carries the team with him. He is loved so much. He's so loved in Leverkusen that they were willing. So I think it was the grandmother that went to see him recently. The whole stadium were like, no, that is telling you. And if he's injured often, it is because the German league is one of the most demanding in the world, physically, not only just technical. So that's why when I see players like that, it makes me optimistic for the Super Eagles because you can build teams around this player. We have top players, but we still have some, like as I told you earlier, we still have some that I feel that they are not good enough to play there. The solution to the Super Eagles is very, very simple. It is so simple that nobody is trying to look at it. And that's why when I coach Super Eagles, it was difficult to like discuss with some people about it because it has to be all about the performance principle. If you are not good enough, you don't play. The moment you see, players are not stupid, they are very smart. The moment you play one player that they know is not good enough to play, and you're playing somebody else there, the team is already psychologically imbalanced. That is how I think that would be the solution. Especially now that we are desperate, we have to introduce that back. We have no choice.
So as we wrap this up, my final word question to you. I know you've been dodging this. Every time I ask you sneak dribble me. If the conditions are right, if everything, because see, every time I talk about Super Eagles, you just light up. So I think that you left Super Eagles, but you never really left Super Eagles. Your heart is there. It's like, oh, the Nations Cup, everything. That thing, my guy shows up. If the conditions are right. I know you will dribble me now.
No, Matt, hey, listen, bro. Make I tell you something. We don't deceive ourselves. I don't get two countries, though. No, only one.
Yeah.
Forget I get Belgium, Mali. The only one I get. Now, on the other hand, nothing brings me more joy than my people. Even if it is the female team, you can't believe that I stayed up late one night to watch the female team. My wife tells me, said, you get girlfriend there. I said, look, which one is I get girlfriend? My country, they play, And my kids are like me also. My country is my country, so my country is playing. Of course, like I made it clear, and that is why when Obi Mikel made the statements he made, I didn't want to comment to respond because at the time it looked as if he wanted to become the coach again, that kind of thing. And that's not, and that's why I came out, look, man, I not apply you. So, but if my country tells me that, look, Sonny, we won't follow you talk. We think we can, I will discuss with them because it is my country. I served Nigeria for 10 years non-stop as a player and eventually for 3 years as a captain. And in those 10 years, not once did I come late as a player. Not once did I have a disciplinary problem. So that shows you also the commitment that I have to serving my country. And maybe one of the reasons why I like Nigeria also is that in spite of all these ones who make their noise on social media or those ones, there are still so many. Like when you hear 10 make noise, I always hear 90 who are appreciative of what we did for Nigeria. No. I just came back home. I was home some few weeks ago. That kind of thing. My brothers were telling me, now, wow, I say you still they play. I said, look, now I country people at the time because they still treat me well. That was the thing. Nigeria is our home. We all have to be involved in it. If you can't serve Nigeria directly, you must be ready to serve Nigeria indirectly. If Nigeria comes to me and says, look, we are playing this game. Can you please give us a technical analysis of how the opponent's plays? Because that is your specialty as one of the 6 best experts in the world with FIFA. As regards how we can counter this opposition, can you give us just your own analysis of it? I will do it without asking for €1. Especially now because Nigeria needs to qualify for the World Cup.
Before I let you go, I know I said that was the last question. I just want to ask this. I said Wenger.
No, don't rush yourself because my wife agreed that I give you the interview well. So they have left me on my own. You see, there's no noise.
I said Wenger runs a unit that is reshaping and redefining football. I mean, even if you give me 1 year, I still need to be a short time. That department that you're running, how easy it is for somebody to be there. You are the only black person, not the only African, the only black, whether from America, from anywhere in that team of what I call football elder statesmen, the wise men of football. How was Oliseh?
Thank you.
How was Oliseh able to bring it to that?
Well, I started serving FIFA from 2013. And don't deceive yourself. FIFA always, their eyes are very open and watching what you're doing. So they are aware of everything we do. They saw the work I did with the national team of Nigeria. They saw the work I did at Fortuna Sittard. There was a time I had a break. I didn't work with FIFA because I was coaching Fortuna Sittard and Nigeria. So they saw it also. So, and also they see the way I work as regards as the expert for television. And as a Wenka, look, you're talking of this man. This man is a living encyclopedia when it comes to tactics, when it comes to formations, when he's brilliant. And I will tell you one small secret. When we're having meetings all through the World Cup, when he starts to talk, I will take my computer. They thought I was checking analysis. Yeah, they take down notes because the man gets us for up. He has it very, very well. So to get in there, what helped me a lot is the knowledge and what you bring in, because nobody's doing you a favor. If you're not giving service, I will not include you. It's all like that. They will pick somebody else, and that's why I feel very, very honored. And I will ever be thankful and grateful to FIFA for the way they treat me, the respect I get, and also the respect they have for Nigeria. Because let's not face it, these people still remember all what Nigeria has done and what Nigeria is capable of.
All right, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I don't know what I have done to earn your respect. People always say that, wait, you interview Oliseh. How were you able to get to Oliseh? First off, he doesn't stay in Nigeria. I don't know.
I can tell you what you did if you don't know. Before you met me personally, I already knew who you were. And what, yeah, it's like that. I know more about, don't deceive yourself, man. And I already knew when I know where you were, I mean, as a player, and I've had also some comment coming out of you, and also at the same time, also, what I did was when we met personally, I don't be surprised, but I studied psychology. I studied psychology, and one of the things you learn about psychology is that you learn to read people, you learn to read the body language, and you learn to read not what they're saying. You also learn to read why are they saying what they're saying. And what impressed me a lot about you was the fact that you were like trying to I could see that as if you had made a research before you asked for something. It's as if so I was that already decided me. And you made one statement. And it's unfortunate I have to. In fact, my cousin likes you like hell because you made one statement. One of my colleagues, I'm not going to name a name. One of my colleagues made a statement and said, "Look, when we were playing Sunday, some of us didn't like you because we were jealous of you." And then you said, "Now, wow." So now they confirm with me, I done the things. And so I've been not like my man because of say on a daily also waiting in the achieve.
Yeah.
Now, when we left and when that person made that statement, my cousin, who's even more direct than me, he had wanted to confront him, but the camera was running. So when we left and went to my bedroom in the hotel, he said to me, "Say something, wow, now crime to this successful, something like that." So I try to read people, and it's great.
Well, we're run out of time. Thank you so much. That's all I can say. Thank you so much. We'll continue the conversation on chat on WhatsApp. Thank you.
No, we won't continue because my madam don't give me time. The time don't go.
No problem. I'm done. Thank you so much. My eyes are wet. Thank you so much.